Our next guest has weighed in along with General Mattis. He too is retired four-star Marine Corps general, former commander of U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan. About Monday, John Allen writes, and I quote, "Remember the date. It may well signal the beginning of the end of the American experiment." He went on to write, "And while Monday was truly horrific, no one should have been surprised. Indeed, the moment was clarifying in so many ways." General Allen is currently president of the Brookings Institution, and he joins us now. General Allen, thanks so much for being with us. The beginning of the end of the American experiment, when I read that, I just found it really chilling, given your experience and all you have seen. Can you just elaborate on that?
Anderson, we haven't been at this place in history, in the history of this country, ever. Let's remember what's going on here. We're experiencing a global lethal pandemic, over 107,000 dead, more than 40 million unemployed. Our economy is in tatters, almost 2 million Americans infected.
All right, Shalom. I want to begin this lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Wahar Rakah Kwadash, which in the ancient Hebrew tongue would be the correct names of the Heavenly Father, His beloved Son, and the Holy Spirit. I also would like to give double honors to my teachers, the head apostles and elders, a great millstone. Much due honors and respect to the sincere brethren out there that's also laboring in His work. And as always, want to say shalom to the believers, the Akim as well as the Aqua, which will be you brothers along with the sisters that subscribe to this truth as well. So yeah, this sitting right here is going to be obviously centered around the opening clip, which featured the so-called white man, Esau, the devil himself, pretty much echoing the same sentiment we've been singing for years, starting with our elders, and our teachers, the apostles of Great Millstone, and the fact that he's acknowledging something that we already knew, and that's the fact that his rulership has reached its end, see? And this is nothing that we marvel at. Why? Because it was all foretold in biblical prophecy, which when you come into the proper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the scriptures, one of the attributes you develop, if you will, is a feel for the rise and fall of kingdoms. And that's a luxury that our people don't have. They believe that the so-called white man and his reign of terror is a perpetual state. They believe that this is the be-all, end-all, America. They don't see that proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. But guess what? We understand clearly that this man has a day, where obviously he was established, and there's also a day written in infamy where he's going to fall out of power. Matter of fact, let me start off with actually a couple of precepts before we get into this lesson. First one, right here in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, starting at the 1st verse, it says, "To everything there is a season." See, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Yeah, and when you come across the idea of seasons, in most cases, in relation to the scriptures, and mainly biblical prophecy, it pertains to kingdoms, all right? And one thing about seasons, it doesn't stay a certain season forever, It doesn't stay summer year round, neither fall or winter, or spring, see? And that's the same with kingdoms. They eventually change, and right now we will be in the season of the so-called white man. Matter of fact, let me grab another quick precept and we'll go back. This is the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, in the 21st verse. It says, "And he changeth the times and the seasons." See, he removeth kings and setteth up kings. Yes, so you see what a removal and setting up of kings is in the same breath with the changing of times and seasons. Again, it says, "And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding." And this will be considered true understanding, man. True knowledge and true wisdom. The ability, if you will, to possess, the attribute of having a feel for the rise and fall of different regimes and kingdoms and empires. See, you'll have a Jake out there who might have a bachelor's degree. He might validate his understanding in the form of paperwork, a doctor's degree, a diploma. Yet he think America is a perpetual state. This would mean he don't truly possess wisdom, all right? So when you go back here to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, and starting at the 1st, it says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born. Yeah, and when you consider the so-called white man and his rulership in the form of America, it actually had a time where it was born. You know, what was that, 1776, where this place was actually birthed into a nation. See, a time to be born and a time to die. Yeah, there's a time written in infamy where this place, America, is going to die. And that's what you're witnessing right now. And Esau himself is acknowledging this, man. They can see it. See, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant. Yeah, there was a time where America was planted, which it was Yahweh Shai who planted America. That's why our Lord is known as a husbandman, okay? Which a husbandman translates to a farmer. See, it's the Lord who plants and pluck up. See, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Yes, so it was Yahweh Shai who set these devils up, and it would be the Heavenly Father through his son to remove these devils. Matter of fact, let me grab something else real quick. You know, precepts come to mind. What's that? Yep, the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 10th chapter. In the 4th verse, it says, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord. See? So whomever is in power, it was Yahweh Shai that sanctioned it. See? The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord. And in due time, see, we just read that there's a time and purpose for every season under the heaven. See? And in due time, he will set over it one that is profitable, which is dealing with our Lord Yahweh Shai, all right, in the kingdom of heaven. You see? And guess who have come to this conclusion? You guessed it, man. Esau, the so-called white man himself, he have come to the conclusion that his rulership has reached its end, which brings me to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter, in the 5th verse. It says, for our time is a very shadow that passeth away. Yeah, and this precept right here, when read with understanding, you will know that this is dealing with Esau, the so-called white man, reasoning with himself, in particular, the elites, you know, the chief house of the nation of Edom, which comes in the form of these international banking families, man. You know, those who seize control of the planet Earth, thus fulfilling the prophecy spoken of in the book of Job, the 9th chapter and 24th verse, where it tells you how the earth will be given unto the hand of the wicked. See, it says, for our time is a very shadow that passeth away, which this place, America, is known as the valley of the shadow of death. And why did Yahweh Shai compare this place to a shadow? Well, a shadow is a very fickle thing, which is subject to change. See, you can't put your stock into a shadow, man. You know, you might look down 1 minute and your shadow is positioned in a certain place. You look up and look back down and it's moved, you know, or altogether gone. That's the state of America. You know, again, it says, for our time is a very shadow, see, that passeth away. And after our end, see, and after our end or our rulership, there is no returning. Yeah, this man is not going to come back into power, man. All right. This man is going to be thrown down with a perpetual overthrow. See? Never to rise again. See? It says, and after our end, there's no returning, for it is fast sealed. Yeah, the Lord have spoken, man. All right? It's already written that after this man is taken out of the way, the kingdom of heaven is going to be established, which is going to be a perpetual rulership. See? And why is that? Because we're going to establish the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shai in the world to come. Meaning we'll never have to ever look over our shoulder again and anticipating a nation coming up against us. We're not going to receive any reports that someone just stirred up the Medes, man. We're going to be firmly established versus the so-called white man, you know, which his kingdom is known as a shadow. And there's a reason for that, because he is contrary to the very laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shai that guarantees life and longevity. You know, matter of fact, let me get some real quick before we move forward. This is the book of Isaiah, the 24th chapter. In the 5th verse, it says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Yeah, and what you're witnessing right now is the earth in its worst case scenario. You know, you have different animals at the brinks of extinction. You know, the air is polluted. You got chemtrails. The water is polluted, man. You know, when you ponder on that, you should marvel, man. Okay, here it is. The water is a cleansing agent in itself. Yet, this man, the so-called white man, has found some way to pollute the water. You know? You eating GMOs. You have what's known as deforestation, where these devils, at an alarming rate, is cutting down these trees, which common knowledge teaches you that the trees contributes to life. You know, the trees give off oxygen, man. See? So the earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, which would be the so-called white man. The paper trail goes back to you devils, all right? You have single-handedly destroyed the planet Earth, see? It says, because they have transgressed the laws, see? Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant, see? So there's a reason why the so-called white man is going to be moved out of the way. Because they have transgressed the laws versus the kingdom of heaven, which is going to be a kingdom where the laws will be established. And that's going to guarantee our longevity, if you will. You see? That's what's going to propel us into the stratosphere of eternity. See that? So again, what you're witnessing right now, the fall, the epic fall and collapse of the so-called white man, although our people can't see it, you know, when this idea is presented to them, you know, they usually the ones that give you the main friction. But again, guess who acknowledges the fact that this kingdom is about to be overthrown, man, or on the verge of a collapse, never to rise again? Guess who have come to the realization that this is a reality, who have come to the conclusion that we at the end of this current system? The so-called white man himself. See that? And there's also found right here in the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter, in the 12th verse, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, okay, for the devil, and that translates to the so-called white man right there. That's not dealing with some guy in the underworld, you know, with a set of horns and a triton in his hand, poking you, you know, as you enter into the abyss, you know. That's not talking about a figment of the so-called white man's imagination. That character that's set up to torment your soul forever and ever. That's nothing more than a smokescreen, man, to divert you from the real issue. And that's the so-called white man. He's the devil, which, by the way, when you go into that word devil, it pretty much means deceiver. And it tells you in the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter, how this man would deceive the nations. See that? So this man is the devil and Satan, all right? Which, by the way, that word Satan in the Hebrew would be Shaitan, which translates to adversary, meaning this man is adverse to everything that the Lord has laid out, starting with the laws, statutes, and commandments, all right? This man is adverse to the nations. That's why even over in Iran, they have coined this man as the great Satan, the great adversary, man. You know, of course, he's adverse to the children of Israel, but not only amongst the nations, even the animals, man, the beast of the field. He's an adversary, he's adverse to all the creations of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, man. Right? It says, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, which we're approaching that time, but this man in his desperation is going to send forth his military. See? It says, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Let's read that again. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, the so-called white man, is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth. See, this man himself knoweth, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Now, let's click on this word knoweth real quick. And the pronunciation in the Greek would be
Strong's G 1492. Ido.
Yeah, it says to see, to perceive with the eyes, to perceive by any of the senses. Yeah, this man, he can sense the end of his kingdom. And you saw that in the opening clip. All right. This devil was emphatically making a case for the end of this current system, man. See? It says to perceive. Notice. Yeah, these devils are noticing that power that they once had is being taken away. That grip is loosening. See? To perceive, to notice, discern, discover. Yeah, you have discovered that we at the end of your rulership. And this is a beautiful thing right here. This is our comfort, man. See? It says to see, to turn the eyes, the mind, the attention to anything. Yeah, your mind and your attention is being turned to the fact that your kingdom is in jeopardy. See? We're not the only ones that's pushing out this idea. You know, we're not the only ones that's paying attention to the prophecies, you know, being fulfilled. In this place, America being on the verge of that overthrow that's foretold by the Holy Scriptures. The so-called white man himself is paying attention to this, man. See? To pay attention, see? Observe. To see about something. It says to inspect, examine, to look at, behold, to experience, see? Any state or condition. Yeah, they're experiencing the fall of this place, man. And that shows you how bad Yahweh Shai. This is not going to be a mercy killing, if you will. The Lord is not going to just take this man out of his misery. It's going to be a methodical, slow, surgical death. See? A torturous overthrow, man. So yeah, you get the point. Get knowledge of, understand. This devil understand that this place is finished. And again, even if our people can't see it, who cares, man? You know, we understand it. And this message is beginning to settle on the ears of our very oppressors. You know, the very ones who have, you know, strategically set up these laws and legislations to keep us in further derision. You know, and it was all in attempts to retain their power. But the Lord have worked the work, man. You see? And our reality is now becoming the world's reality. Again, this is not just the message of Israel anymore, or the men here at Great Millstone. We're not just, you know, those guys in the corner of the room shouting, you know, while everybody else is going about the day-to-day business as usual approach. No, the Lord have now commanded your undivided attention, and you're beginning to see what we've been seeing. So yeah, I just want to touch on that, Lord willing. It was edifying. Till the next time I say shalom.